Hey, friends, welcome to another installment of Wellness Wednesdays. I am glad that you are here. Um, Man, this is going to be great. I feel like I'm already having a little bit of feedback on my end, give people time to jump on in. But if this is your first time, my name is James Perkins. I'm a therapist and a coach, and really glad that you're here with me on tonight. As you're coming on in, as we always do two things for me. One, let me know where you're chiming in from, city and state, and then also um, share. This is going to be a great conversation that I know anybody in your network, whether it's family, friends, associates, advisors, mentors, any descriptive title that you want to insert there would benefit from on tonight as we have this conversation about conquering overwhelm. And I have a very special guest with me on tonight. So this is going to be awesome. Hey, babe, how we doing? Awesome. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to give a couple more moments to make sure I am not lagging. Um, if you're listening from your end, let me know if I'm coming through clearly and there's no lag in our broadcast on tonight. Perfect. Awesome, friends. Great, great. So are we good to go, guys? If you can hear me clearly, perfect. Awesome. Okay, great. So again, man, welcome to Wellness Wednesdays. I'm glad that you're here. We are excited for this conversation tonight. I have a very special guest that I'm going to introduce very shortly. But again, this is your first time joining Wellness Wednesdays. I'm James Perkins, again, counselor, therapist, coach, Howard Todd, you want to insert there, owner of Intentional Living Counseling Group here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'm glad that you're here with me. The main reason that we do Wellness Wednesdays every week is really to give people a chance to explore how their thoughts and emotions impact their decisions. And the reason why we want to have that conversation is that our decisions obviously inevitably determine our future. So we can better understand how our thoughts are impacting our emotions and our emotions are impacting our emotional state and our decisions. I think we'll have a greater chance of actually really achieving our goals and really becoming more of who we um, more authentic in who we already are. And so I'm glad that you're here with me tonight. Man, this is going to be a great conversation again. If you want to share this broadcast, not if, please share. Don't be stingy. Do not be stingy. We believe in being generous here. And so share this conversation tonight as we talk about conquering overwhelm. So tonight, I have a very special guest in the person of Tristian Williams. He's the president and CEO of the Boomloop Group. And so what I'm going to actually do is going to bring him live, and let's get this show on the road. Tristan, how are we doing tonight, man?
James, nice to see you. All the live listeners and those who may catch us on the replay. Nice to see you guys. Glad you're here.
Awesome, man. Thank you for being on. This is, I was sharing this conversation with it may have been a friend of my wife. We have so many conversations, and I was like, man, I really like super blessed and feel like a celebrity to some degree because I know all these great people in all these great industries who are doing great things, and I'm on a first name basis with these people, and we actually have relationships. So, man, I'm glad that you're here with me tonight having this conversation. So, yeah,
Yeah, we go way back, man. So it's good to be here.
yes, man, yes. So, I'm not going to steal any spotlight from you. Please introduce yourself, man. Let us know who you are, what you do, and we'll start from there.
Well, this is your show, so all the spotlight technically is yours.
Yeah.
But so kind of you. My name is Tristian Williams. You guys, again, very nice to be here. Appreciate the invite, James. And I am president and founder of the Boomloop Group. We are the organizational alignment people, and essentially we work with senior level leaders to help them create more aligned organizations, which allows them to attract the talent, the resources that they need to grow their organizations, whether that is engagement, whether that's marketing, whether that's employee or customer acquisition. It's all about figuring out who you are, how do you share that as an influencer in the world, and how do you create that alignment from your identity to create an experience that just flows out of that identity. So it's all about alignment for us, and we're grateful to work with some amazing leaders. I am also the author of Fruition Power, how to achieve more, lead well, and conquer overwhelm. And I'm excited to go ahead and talk about some of my research that went into putting this project together.
Man, I'm glad you're here, and we're going to talk about this. Hearing you talk just reminds me of why we're friends. You kind of say all my buzzwords: alignment, identity. These are a lot.
I try not to sound like a SEO checker, but
I
sometimes
know,
it just
right?
happens that way.
Yes, my wife picks on me, and because I use these words rather regularly, but I think they're so important, especially when you talk about alignment and identity. Man, that is like core. Everything really, I think, really flows from our identity,
Mhm.
and I think your work is powerful because it. I think while I work with people to do that on an individual level, I love that you're working with actually organizations to do that on an even larger level, which can have a significant impact, obviously, in the world itself. And
You
so,
know, it's really closely related though, because
yeah,
for an organization to achieve alignment, a person has to be able to live that within themselves. So it starts with one person, and then it starts with a team being able to have a handle on their own identity. Because if you don't have that, then you can't be authentic as a leader. You got to be authentic in yourself
absolutely.
first. So we share that work.
That is important. Man, integration,
Yes,
integration.
sir. Yes, sir.
So I want to actually read the first couple of pages of the introduction of your book as we start to have this conversation. So transformational, so powerful that I didn't want to cut any part out. So I'm going to read this and then actually have you kind of share a little bit about how this title even came about and why you
Sure.
decided to write this book. Um, so let me share my screen just in case so people want to read along. Do that. Awesome. So this is the introduction to the book, which I love. The first line just really got me. Um, Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. The words of Iron Man Mike Tyson couldn't be more true. In and outside of the boxing ring, we all want the success that lives on the other side of the plan. We dream about high functioning teams, skyrocketing sales, clients banging the door down to write us checks, and friends and family that adore us and would think to not invite us to their birthday parties. Then life delivers the punch in the mouth, and the perfect plan that was designed to efficiently take us from point A to point Z is officially irrelevant, and we're left to decide what happens next. That's what this book is about. Company founders, executives, leaders, and high performing individuals eventually want the same thing no matter what industry they're in, what side of the tracks they live on, or how far away they are from the goal they have in mind: peace. They want the peace of knowing everything will go according to plan, but that's ludicrous. Nothing ever fully goes according to the plan, and that's where the trouble is. Operating in reaction mode when life throws its worst blows is what robs these same leaders of sleep at night, interrupts their schedules, muffles their creativity and ability to serve at the highest levels. That's when they begin to feel stretched too thin, exhausted, and overwhelmed. Maintaining a high level of achievement can be daunting. Juggling your responsibilities, leadership, and finding space for self-care can feel impossible. And that's not even counting time to dedicate to creating memories with family and friends. Life is too precious to pick between the things we love and the things we love more. This book is going to help you with that. Man, what a powerful um, introduction, man. And I think,
Appreciate it.
yeah, man, even just reading it, I know this is focused on leaders and you work with executives and high performing individuals, which I consider probably have both in our audience tonight. But
Absolutely.
I think that what you just said is so transferable, even if you're not a CEO of a
Hmm.
company, even if
Hmm.
you are a mother or a father who's doing homeschool right now in the middle of a pandemic.
Hmm.
um, I think your introduction just grabs us regardless. And so, yeah, I want to give you a moment just to share a little bit about why that title, man. Why this introduction?
Yeah. So the title is Fruition Power.
Hmm.
And, it's two words there. Um, the power, the ability to bring something to fruition, right? To create the thing that doesn't exist.
Yes.
And that power exists in each and every one of us, right? But sometimes we just don't know how to tap into that power
Yeah.
that enables us to create the things that exist outside of our minds and our hearts and our souls that we really want to be able to experience, to enjoy, just to hold in our hands, right? So it's about teaching people how to own that power, right? How to build it, how to craft it, because we all have something that we're looking toward. And whether you're executive, whether you're, a stay-at-home parent, which I actually speak to, I actually have that same
Yeah.
example in the book because, stay-at-home parents and parents in general, they're one of the most important kinds of leaders on the planet. They're shaping the next generation, right?
Absolutely.
So just like if you're a mom or a CEO, you have um, power to bring something to fruition, whether if it's in the life of your organization or of your children or wherever it is. And then an introduction is because a lot of the material that I feel like I come in contact with, which is amazing. So it's not a substitute, but it's more an add-on. It's an addition to
Mhm.
some of the materials out there. I felt like it's, kind of assuming people are starting with a clean slate.
Yeah.
Here is your plan. Here is how to start from A and move to Z. But
Yeah.
many times people have already started something. So
Yeah.
they're not at A, they're at M N double O
Yeah.
P, if you say it like a toddler. And they've messed up, right? Most of
Yeah.
us have started something, we've screwed it up, and we're in the middle of life or in the middle of a plan, and we're trying to figure out how to put the broken pieces together.
Yeah.
And I didn't really feel like I saw a lot of material that was acknowledging and accepting the frailty, the brokenness, and the failures of people and even high performers. So I wanted to, do some research and put out a project that allowed you to start from the middle and to let you know that it's okay to fail, and not if, but when you do, these are the instructions to get you back on the track and help you to bring whatever that thing is to fruition.
Man, this is good. I can definitely see how that's needed. As you just mentioned, we have a lot of content that presumes that people have a plan for interruption,
Hmm.
right? But we don't have a lot of material that says, okay, this is your plan when an interruption arises, because it's not a matter, as you say, of if, but when. So,
Hmm.
what is your plan when those interruptions um, arise? And when you think about it, it's like, how has not anybody written a book like that even now? Because as you said, it's ludicrous to not know that you're going to face interruption in the process of starting from A and attempting to get to Z, and which I think is why this is so. It's so. I think your book is timely in that when you wrote it, because you came out with this book in what year now?
This came out January 2020, right before the world ended.
Oh my God! See, I mean, you were right, exactly, right before Corona came and on the stage and just interrupted everybody's plan. And we have, as I say, multiple pandemics going on at the same time.
Hmm.
And so, what a timely and a prophetic book, really to serve as a guide for people during these times. So, I guess my first question, man, is, can you kind of share with us the framework, if you will, for helping people as you said, achieve more and keep from overwhelming themselves, especially in moments like these?
Yeah, so it's a six-part framework, and I'll walk you guys through it, and I may touch on some parts other more than others. But the first is just gaining clarity. You know, if you're in the middle of something and it hasn't gone the way that you want it to go, clarity is the first thing that you should seek. And I share this example that there was a teenager that wanted to be an Olympic swimmer, much like his older sister.
Hmm.
Lived in the Virgin Islands, and at the time there was one Olympic-sized swimming pool on this entire island. And imagine this being the thing that you were striving for and training for your entire life, and then a hurricane wipes the pool to shreds. So you don't have the pool you need to practice being an Olympic swimmer. So in that instance, clarity was the thing that this young man needed to seek, and it's a thing that he got because it wasn't necessarily about swimming; it was about being an Olympian. It was about achieving the goal. And once he was really able to tap into it, isn't the pool, it's me being an athlete, it's me being able to achieve at the highest level. And this young man was none other than Tim Duncan, five-time NBA champion, Olympic gold winner, now on the head coaching staff of the Spurs. Some argue the best power forward in NBA history.
Yeah.
And when I think about that moment, something happened that wasn't in his control. The tornado killed the pool. So he was able to gain clarity and make a shift and a pivot and think, well, if I can't get the gold from the pool, maybe I'll try this basketball thing.
Yes.
And for anyone who knows sports, we all know how that worked out. But if you don't, he won some gold. So that
He
lets you
wants
know
to
that
go
that
for
it
sure.
worked out. So yeah, clarity is just huge. Just figuring out exactly what is the thing that you're after, and not allowing your circumstances to cloud your judgment or to make you feel discouraged. And after that, it's connecting your path to a purpose. And I have a framework that kind of helps us identify a purpose for yourself, a purpose for your family, your intimate community, and a purpose for the world around you. And you were asking, well, how did the book come together as a whole? And initially, the book was called Purpose Pathway. You know, now it's called Fruition Power. But initially, it was just a book about how to achieve life's purpose. It connected to career. So instead of writing an entire book about it, I distilled that to a chapter because I felt like the project was going to best serve people with more of those tangible tools.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
that's kind of what follows. And after that is growing influence, letting people know what you're about. And isn't necessarily selling anything, but it's becoming a person of influence, which is essentially serving others. After that, creating an environment where your goals can grow. Think about, you know, a plant. It needs certain things.
Yeah.
And for us as humans, as individuals, we need an environment that's going to help us cultivate our goals. But not only that, once you kind of move into leadership status, your primary concern is not about your own environment, but it's about cultivating an environment where others can grow,
Yes.
where
Absolutely.
others can lead and be healthy. And next part, it's regular reflection. You know, many times we're going and we're going and we don't stop. We treat ourselves like batteries. You know,
Mm.
the only part in our bodies that doesn't stop is the heart. Everything else takes a break in some
Yeah.
capacity. But we think we're cell phones. We just kind of go. But you know,
Yeah.
even our cell phones, they die. And once they do, it's okay because we can put it on a charger,
Roger.
right? So regular reflection not only helps us mentally and emotionally, but regular reflection also has physical healing properties.
Mm.
You know, there was a study done where people were going through physical therapy and literally just writing in a journal for 7 days speeded up the healing process for people who had undergone surgery. So it's
Oh,
phenomenal what writing in a journal on a regular basis can do. And then the last part is just conquering overwhelm. So I have some strategies and some tips that will help you get in front of burnout, help you manage stress, help you kind of increase the creativity because whatever you're doing, right? If you identify as a high
Mhm.
performer, it's going to be challenging. So
Yeah.
the demands that you put on yourself, your body, the demands you put on your organization to perform, you're going to need to get in front of some of the things that can help. Well, that's some of the things that may stop you along the way. So just being preventative in that stress management and that burnout is going to be really important.
Yeah, and even as I think about that now, I think so. There are probably two modes of thinking right now. Some people have probably fell into the kind of victim mindset of the pandemic, where they believe um, that they're constantly in reaction mode, right?
Hmm.
In that Corona is here. There's nothing I can do to change it. I can't move it, um, and so they are going to find themselves to a certain degree because they believe it's outside of their control. Um, find themselves mostly in reaction mode. Um, but as I do believe that this pandemic really can, and it has for me at least, in a lot of ways, been a tremendous gift because it's helped me to really adjust and get clarity and help me to, in some ways, kind of be more proactive in preventing overwhelm. And so you have that mindset of, there, I don't have a choice. I just have to do the best I can, which for certain people, I understand that to a certain degree. But then I think a more empowering mindset is to say, um, yes, Corona is here. We have a pandemic of racial injustice going on. We have people who are struggling with financial instability. Yet and still, with all these things, there are things that are within my control that I can do to maintain my peace, if you will, to sum it up. And um, and I think if we take that mindset, it'll really set us up for success. And so with that, man, what are some of those strategies that will really help pull people from that reaction mode that they may be in this season? Or if people are already saying, hey, I want to be proactive, but I actually just need some tools to help me put in place to really start applying to my own life,
Hmm.
what help would you be able to offer them on tonight?
Yeah, I think energy is the key word.
Mm.
When I think about the most important resources in the world, I always think time is our most valuable asset. But shortly after time, I say it's energy.
Absolutely.
And it's something that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
Imagine coming home and maybe you're doing a side hustle. So now you have 5 to 9, but you're so tired and
Yeah.
you can't focus. Or imagine getting into the office or walking down to the office, whatever the office is for you these
Yeah.
days. It could be anywhere, and you have a clear calendar, but you can't focus enough to
Mhm.
actually get anything done because your mind is filled and inundated with stress, with worry, with concern. I know what that feels like. I know
Yeah.
what it feels like to have all the time in the world, but to be so burned out and tired that you can't do anything. And
You hit
it's
on something,
the
Tristan.
most frustrating thing in the world because it's like I've killed myself to make this time. And
Yeah.
now that I have the time, I can't use it.
Mm.
What's up? So first, just being aware that energy is such an asset and you have to protect your energy. Most people say I have to protect my time, which is true, which is very, very true. But if you're not protecting the energy, the time is going to be worthless. It's like having a car with no gas in it. Where you going? It's you got this, big body car, but you can't go anywhere, right? So
Mhm.
energy is the gas that propels us forward. And there are a couple things that I can share about conserving energy. And I think one of the most compelling ones is being aware of the intensity of the emotions that we feel.
Mm.
So there are high intensity emotions and low intensity emotions.
Yeah.
And especially in Western culture, we have in our organizations and in our media, our entertainment, our music, we tend to put high intensity emotions and low intensity emotions um,
Mm.
on a pedestal. So
Yeah.
we like to feel on a level 10, right? Whereas more in Eastern cultures, they more so feel, levels 4 to 6, but we feel on a level 7 to 10. So
Wow.
if we think about, maybe The Wolf of Wall Street, most people know that
Yeah.
movie. He's standing up on the tables and he hands up and, yelling, and the crowd is riled up. Those
Uh-huh.
are high intensity emotions. And most people equate high intensity with intelligence, with leadership capability.
Wow.
Um, yeah, because apparently when you're loud, you're doing a good job. Even think about the national anthem. Imagine listening to the Super Bowl and the national anthem is saying, and a person never raises their voice. You automatically think that person isn't talented because they didn't get loud.
Wow. Absolutely.
But it's not about the volume. It isn't about the intensity, right? It's about knowing how to conserve your energy for the moments when it matters most. Now, sure, high intensity emotions are appropriate at some points, but you don't need them all day.
Yes.
And that's what burns us out, is because, we go through um, a workday 9 to 5, and we're exhibiting these high intensity emotions to seem competent, but those high intensity emotions burn more calories than lower intensity emotions.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so imagine just sitting at your desk for 8 hours and you're coming home exhausted, like you've been working on a steel mill. That's because your mind is literally burning calories through how hard you're thinking and feeling. So
Yeah.
instead of feeling, what's an example? Instead of feeling excited, you can be happy.
Mm. Yeah.
And instead of feeling angry, you can be disappointed.
Yeah. That's good, Tristan.
Right. So you can pick lower levels of intensity of those emotions and you can honor how you feel. This isn't about, putting your emotions in a bottle, ignoring them. It's about being true to who you are, really
Yeah.
coming to the table, feeling what you need to feel, but maybe turning the dial down just a few levels to conserve some of your energy to where you really need those points most, you have what you need. Michael Jordan was really great at this. At beginning of his career, he was coming out first quarter, dunking on everybody,
Yeah.
putting up 60 points at will. But as he matured in his career, it wasn't that he became less effective. He just exerted less energy throughout
Yeah.
those first 3 quarters. So when it came to crunch time, he had enough juice to really pick it up.
Man, that's so powerful.
So think about, you're going through the day and you get home and your kids are pulling at your leg, but you
Mm.
don't have any energy left. You're
Yeah.
tired, you're burned out. And now the thing that matters most to you is getting put on the back burner because you didn't know how to manage your energy.
Mm.
You got time with your kids, you got quality time, but you aren't fully present because you don't have the energy to be fully present. So it's about using those moments throughout the day, looking at your calendar. Okay, I have an all team meeting at 2 o'clock, and then I have another client meeting at 3:30. Those are the moments where I need to be on my A game. But this all hands on meeting at 10 o'clock, I don't need to exert that much energy. I need to
Energy.
disseminate information. So let me keep my energy at a level 5 so that at these later meetings, I have what I need so that when I get home and I see the love of my life and my children, I have enough gas in the tank, right? So that I don't feel
Absolutely.
disappointed in myself from letting my family down. So it all works together. The energy management piece is just really huge.
I think that's really important because, um, even as I work with a lot of people around this concept of shame, um, I always talk about how shame, wants to play that tape, that I'm not enough and that I don't have what it takes. And as you were talking, I just, imagine people who obviously, like you said, have the desire, want to be present for the people and the assignments that they have that matter most, but sometimes end up showing up to those assignments or relationships without the energy
Mhm.
that they have, and they feel some sense of shame around that. And what I know about shame is that when we are in an emotional state of shame, we oftentimes can lash out at people, not because we want to, but because we are that emotional state of shame has caused us to feel insecure, and so we come home, for instance, and um, you you fall asleep on the couch because you don't have enough energy, and you wake
Mhm.
up where your spouse says something to you like,
Mhm.
"Man, you weren't here for five minutes, and you just fell asleep." And I don't ask me how I know this. Don't ask me how I know this, right? and so you get up, you like, dang it, man. Feel ashamed, like, man, yes, man, she or he is right. And so you're in this, you can get into that shame cycle, not realizing that it's really not a thing of you not wanting to be present, but as you said, it's a matter of I need to better manage my energy. So, like you said, I have enough juice in the tank, so when I get home, I have time for really what matters most. And
Mhm.
so, man, that's powerful. That is powerful.
Absolutely. And it's not just like the energy management, good sleep, hydration, nutrition, all of that stuff works together. But we hear about those things. So if you're doing those things and you still feel like you're getting home or you're getting to those moments where it matters most, I was on a call earlier today with an executive and I was like, how's it going? How are you feeling? And we
Hmm.
put out the feelings wheel,
Yeah,
right? So we pulled out that feelings wheel, and he's,
you're
I
an
feel
undercover
this, and I feel
therapist.
this, right? And so if you pull out a feelings wheel, and if you're not familiar with it, literally just Google feelings
Feelings
wheel,
wheel.
and it'll pop up. Go to images, and if you feel yourself feeling one of those emotions that seem like it's really high in potency, maybe
Hmm.
you can go a step closer to the middle. It doesn't work exactly the way that I'm talking about it in a feelings wheel, but once you
Yeah.
kind of get different words, you can kind of get the idea. But yeah, it's a resource that may be able to help.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have you that next part of the framework. What is, excuse me, what is that next strategy that you have for us for helping to conquer overwhelm? And before you say that, Tristan, if you're listening, we may have time for a couple of questions at the end. So if you want to, you can still go ahead and drop some of those questions now so that we'll have some of those queued up after Tristan shares some of these strategies. I'll
Oh,
let
great. I wasn't expecting Q&A. This
you.
is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
One of them is managing how you internalize.
Mm,
And I'm such a pro at this. I've done it so many times. And what's challenging is, and I'll explain it, it can be used for good, but it's also a tool that can backfire.
yeah.
So when I talk about internalizing, it's also creating a narrative of what happens as a consequence of your actions. So if you fail, which we talked about, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Internalizing is because this happened, it means that I am, right?
Mm,
We create I am statements based on how we perform. And we have to be able to separate our identity from our performance,
that's key. Excuse me. That's important.
not the same thing.
Hmm.
And then further, what happens is we kind of create these crazy narratives about what can happen if this failure continues. And it was some commercial. Somebody may hear the bad way I'm explaining it and remember what it is. I think it was like a cable commercial. But, for instance, if I fall down with a glass of water, then my wife slips on the water, then she breaks a bone, and then the hospital ambulance crashes into something else. And we think about all of these different things that can happen as a result of one little thing,
Hmm.
and we blame ourselves for everything that happens. It
Wow.
hasn't happened in
Yeah.
reality. None
Hmm.
of this is real, but we're
Yeah.
thinking, okay, if I drop this glass of water, or I have dropped it, this is the chain of events that I'm
Yeah.
responsible for. And
Yeah.
because I'm responsible for it, that's the level of failure that I am, or that's the level of um, underperformer that I am,
Hmm.
right? So all of that creates so much stress, anxiety, that it's really difficult to bear. So when some of those things happen, first it's being able, like I said, to separate who you are from what you've done.
Mm.
Um, and it's not to not have accountability. That's important. It's
Hmm.
important to be able to be objective with your performance, how you're doing, so that you can be accountable to yourself, your team, your family, organization, etc. But at the end of the day, being able to look in the mirror and be comfortable with who you are, to have your own set of value, to create value not from the outside but from the inside, whether that's your spiritual beliefs, or your just belief about the value that you bring to the world just because of your being. Wherever you find that, being able to tap into that and separate that from how you're performing at work is going to be really huge.
My work with leaders deals directly with this in helping them reclaim that narrative.
Hmm.
Because as you think it, uh, Robert McGee in his book Search for Significance talks about this formula, if you will, that if you are a believer, you may get this. If not, I think it still applies because I think it still has truth to it. That the enemy wants us to buy into, and the formula, he says, if we buy into this formula, which is a formula for the definition of your self worth, then you'll always be in bondage. And so the formula is my performance plus the opinions of others equals my self worth.
Hmm.
My performance plus the opinions of others equals my self worth. And so he says, if you have this as your internal model of self esteem, right, then you're doomed for failure because failure is inevitable. It's gonna be a part of your human experience, um, and you can't control what other people think about you as
Hmm.
well. And so that formula just for um, sets you up for bondage. And I like how you said separating um, our um, our activity from our identity. Like those two things are separate.
Hmm.
And to be watchful of those I am statements because those are statements of identity that we make when we are not performing the way that we desire.
and
Um,
and even I caught myself even just today, in
yeah.
this pattern, not even an I am statement. And again, this is why the first step is clarity. If you're in the middle of a tough time or something isn't going well and you're thinking about pivoting, this isn't working, so now it's time for me to try something else.
Mm,
Why is that?
yeah.
Why are you looking to do something else? And many times, after we kind of go through that line of questioning, we'll be willing to do something because we've accepted a new piece of identity based on that
Man.
performance, right? So I need to go out and change this part of my lifestyle because it's a reflection of who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not the thing that I want to be, or I'm this thing that I don't like. So now it's time for me to change that, to alleviate the pain that I feel on the inside by doing something different. Right. So identity and action always have a connection. So whenever you're feeling like I'm about to do something else, ask yourself, how is that a reflection of how you're internalizing your identity? And is that healthy?
Man. This is powerful. I'm going to have you give one more strategy, and then I'm going to force people to go purchase your book. If you really want to know the plan, I want you to go and purchase this book, Fruition Power. But I'm going to let Tristan share one more strategy, and then in all seriousness, this book will change your life. So definitely want you to go and get it. But I'll have Tristan share one more strategy with us.
I think the last thing that I'll share is, and for any of you guys that check it out or borrow it, some of this stuff that we're talking about is chapter 7, Conquering Overwhelm. but I opened talking about the difference between stress and burnout.
Mm,
A lot of times people use those interchangeably or
they
don't
do.
know the relationship between the two. Stress in itself isn't always a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Stress, if you think about a candle, stress is the candle burning all night at a high intensity. So if
Yeah.
you think about maybe the wind blowing a few feet away from a candle and you see it kind of waving in the air, but burnout is when that candle is almost out of wax and it's
Wow.
so dim. And you think if I leave the house for an hour and I come back, this candle isn't going to be lit anymore.
Mm,
Um,
man,
and
it's a great one.
burnout is the exponential version of stress if left unchecked.
That's good, Tristan.
But if you think about a candle, it has the ability to run for as long as it has wax, as long as it's in the proper environment, right? It has
Mhm.
enough to support itself. So if you think about stress in itself, it's neutral.
Yeah.
Um, and if you think about it, you have the ability to create the narrative for your own stress. There are studies
Yes.
that show that people that create an empowering narrative for their stress are less susceptible for heart disease,
Yeah.
right? So the
Absolutely.
way that we're thinking about these things affect our physical health even again. But if you're thinking about, the fact that you're in a stressful time and you think, this stress is here to harm me or this stress is here to help me, just
Mm,
simple two sides of that coin can literally affect your physical health. And the stress is here to harm me over a long period of time creates burnout, which is
absolutely.
a lack of motivation, a decrease in performance, apathy, depression.
Yep.
That's burnout. But if you think about stress, this stress is here to help me. You need stress in certain quantities to help you level up and increase your skill. If you gain mastery at anything, you need to be challenged in some degree. If
Yeah.
you're playing on level one forever, once you master level one, you're going to get bored. So at some point you need to get introduced to level two even before you're ready to fully play on that level. So many times we have to get comfortable with operating on that level that's just challenging enough. And that level is actually stressful, but
Yeah.
it's meant to stretch and to challenge. But what happens is sometimes we pour on too much too fast, and that's when we feel out of control. Imposter syndrome sets in, and that's when we start to feel like this stress is here to harm me. So I'm like being able to balance how much stress we're taking on and creating an empowering narrative around that stress is really going to help us.
This is good. We have one question for you, Tristan. Actually, for my wife, ironically. She asked, can you expound more on balancing your energy? And I think you really just touched on it right then and there. She said, I recently had this revelation: balancing life in the pandemic can be different day to day with a toddler. Um, and yeah, so I think our question is along the lines of um, on balancing your energy. And I think one of those um, exercises and exercise examples you gave was with that distinction between stress and burnout. But if you want to add some more to that, would love for you to.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that you can try is think about any particular day. Wednesday,
Hmm.
um, Tuesday night, write down Wednesday and the hours of the day on a linear line. Think about what are the activities that will require a level 7 to 10 level of energy. Just map those out.
Hmm.
So every playtime, 11 a.m. Studies, 3 p.m. Meeting, 6 p.m. Right.
Hmm.
And as you think about mapping out those moments, immediately before, you want to try to put in activities that are low level energy requirements, right? So if you have something at 6 o'clock, at between 4 to 6 as best as you can. Try to avoid activities that will be above level 7. So if
Yeah.
you got something that you really need to be at a 10 for the troops to show your power, your strength, and to be the loud American that people think you need to be competent, right? Those 2 hours before, relax it a little bit. If
Yeah.
you have a meeting or a call or whatever it is, try to just do things that will help you kind of maintain a lower level of energy so that when it comes to showtime, fourth quarter, you have what it takes. Another example is in moments of frustration or moments of happiness. If you're celebrating or grieving, think about the level of intensity that emotion is requiring of you.
Yeah.
So I had a disappointment just earlier today. And for some time, I was feeling that disappointment at a level 10. And I thought, this isn't healthy. And it doesn't require me to feel this upset about it. I
Yeah.
was able to dial that down to about a level 6, still acknowledge it, but go about my day and keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah. My man, these strategies have been so helpful for me personally. I know people are listening, but I'm like kind of selfish right now. I'm thinking about myself. How can I put more of these in place once this broadcast is over? And because I think it's just that significant, these strategies that you walk this through. Man, Tristian, thank you. How can people stay in contact with you? And if they are in need of your services, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so you posted boomloop.us. You can
Yeah.
also find us at boomloopgroup.com. Either or, you will be able to connect with me and the organization. Email boom Tristan, Tristian at boomloopgroup.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, um, email. Feel free to reach out. And we have some amazing free assessments that you can take advantage of. Or if you just want to connect with me to kind of dive into your journey, be willing to connect with anybody who wants to reach out. I'm all about relationships.
Awesome. And if you want to purchase the Fruition Power, you can do that on Amazon. He does have the Kindle version and the paperback version available. So if you are a physical page reader, like flipping through pages, highlighting, you'll have that option right there. There you go. And then if you like Kindle, if you like that swipe of the finger, you can do that as well. Um, I'm glad that you guys had a chance to have this conversation with me as I talked with Tristian. And, as I said before, I'm a personal counselor, therapist coach here in North Carolina. And a lot of what Tristian said tonight, I think, as we always talk, Tristian, have so much cross sectionality in our industries. And so if you're needing help to really help process your story, you can work with me. If you need help growing your organization, work with Tristian. Or if you need help with both of us, we may can cut you some type of deal. And, but we're glad that you're here with me tonight. You can check me out, James Perkins Out of Help. If you want to talk more, just simply visit James Perkins Out of Help, click Talk with James, and schedule a time to talk with me. And again, as we always have our free gift to you for attending our session on tonight, you can do that as well. Grab that jamesperkins.help /wellness grit /wellness gift, getting tongue twisted. Tristian, thank you so very much for your attendance tonight, man, for your conversation, for lending us your voice. Friends, until next week, we will see you then. Be safe.